You want to demote me right now, Miranda? Perfect. Because the second you sign that paper, this company will owe me $120 million before lunch break. The conference room went dead silent. HR placed the transfer letter in front of me. Performance issues, they called it. I placed another envelope on the table. The notarized original of my integrity bonus clause. A demotion meant to humiliate me. They had no idea it was the trigger switch for the contract bomb I'd buried 6 years ago. As their lawyer whispered, "That's impossible," I pushed my phone toward the speaker. "Listen up, this is the escrow bank confirming trigger conditions." The clock just started ticking. "My name is Alexander Westfield. I'm 52 years old, Senior Contracts Compliance Lead at Apex Defense Contractors." At 10:02 on a Tuesday morning in October 2024, I sat in conference room 12, watching my career assassination unfold. But I'd been preparing for this moment longer than they'd been planning it. See, when you spend 10 years in Army intelligence analyzing contractor fraud in Iraq and Afghanistan, you learn a thing or two about patience and financial forensics. You also learn that the biggest threats to mission success usually come from inside your own camp. Corporate America is no different from military contracting. There's always someone looking to skim off the top while wrapping themselves in the flag. Miranda Collins, my direct supervisor for the past 3 years, sat at the head of the table. Her power suit couldn't hide the satisfaction bleeding through her corporate mask. To her right, Andrew Lawson from HR clutched a manila folder like he was holding launch codes. Patricia Stone, our CFO who joined in 2019, lounged in her chair with the casual arrogance of someone who thought she was untouchable. The company's in-house counsel, a nervous guy named Peterson, kept adjusting his glasses like they could save him from what was coming. "Alex, we've called this meeting to discuss your recent performance concerns," Miranda began, using that fake concerned voice they teach in management seminars. "Your lack of cooperation and repeated instances of exceeding your authority have left us no choice." Andrew slid the transfer notice across the mahogany table. "Effective immediately, you're being reassigned to Junior Compliance Analyst. Your access to executive systems will be revoked, and you'll report to Tommy Ferguson in the basement office." The basement. Where careers go to die at Apex Defense. I'd seen good people disappear down there after asking too many questions about cost overruns and vendor relationships. I let them enjoy their moment. Then I reached into my leather portfolio, the same one I'd carried through 3 deployments analyzing contractor fraud, and pulled out a cream-colored envelope. Westlake Bank watermark caught the conference room lights just right. "Before we go any further," I said, keeping my voice steady as a target acquisition, "you folks should take a look at this." Peterson fumbled for the document like it might explode. His face went white as he read the first page. This is an integrity performance and change trigger clause, with CEO Morrison's signature, notarized, filed with an escrow bank, still active. Patricia straightened up like someone had activated her ejection seat. "What the hell is he talking about?" I leaned forward. 6 years ago, during the Apex Titan merger in 2018, I negotiated a specific protection clause in my employment contract. If I file an integrity warning about regulatory violations exceeding $25 million, and the company responds with demotion, isolation, or termination before addressing the core issue, it triggers an immediate payout of the remaining compliance incentive pool, currently $120 million. "That's ridiculous," Miranda sputtered. "No board would approve something like that." "Page 7, Section 4, I said, signed by Harold Morrison when he was CEO, approved by the Compensation Committee during merger chaos. The board had authorized up to $120 million over 5 years for compliance incentives. My clause allows early distribution of the remaining pool if major fraud is detected and the company retaliates against the reporter. Here's the beautiful part about irrevocable escrow arrangements. Once they're triggered, current management can't stop them." I pulled out my phone and hit speaker. Westlake Bank picked up on the second ring. "Westlake Trust Services, Fiduciary Department. This is Alexander Westfield, account verification 9847. I need immediate confirmation of trigger status on the Apex Defense Integrity Clause." "Good morning, Mr. Westfield." Keys clicked in the background. "Your formal notice was received 48 hours ago. Upon verification of qualifying adverse employment action, the $120 million disbursement will process automatically from the remaining compliance incentive pool. Do you have an event to report?" I looked straight at Miranda. "I'm being demoted right now. in direct retaliation for reporting executive fraud exceeding $50 million. Understood. Please have a company representative confirm the employment action. The room exploded. Patricia slammed her hand on the table hard enough to rattle the water glasses. Peterson started frantically typing on his laptop. Andrew's folder scattered across the floor like shrapnel, but the trap was already sprung. They'd walked into an ambush 6 years in the making, and now the exit was sealed. You want to know how I set this whole thing up? It goes back to 2018, when Apex was acquiring Titan Defense Systems. Biggest merger in our sector that year, $28 billion in combined assets, thousands of defense contracts that needed review and harmonization. As the lead contract specialist with top-secret clearance, I was drowning in classified procurement documents for 8 months straight. But here's what most people don't understand about intelligence training. It teaches you to see patterns and opportunities where others see chaos. All those late nights reviewing merger documents, I started noticing something interesting in the financial structures. The merger agreements included enhanced whistleblower protections, standard corporate theater after all the Enron and WorldCom disasters. But the compensation committee had also approved a new long-term incentive plan with a specific focus. A compliance incentive pool designed to reward employees who identified major regulatory risks before they became Pentagon contract cancellations. The pool was funded with $120 million from the merger reserves, money set aside to cover potential penalties and legal costs from integrating 2 major defense contractors. It was supposed to be distributed over 5 years to various risk officers, compliance teams, and fraud detection initiatives. That's when my intelligence training kicked in. What if one person could earn a significant portion of that pool by identifying a really big problem? And what if that same person needed protection from retaliation? I was negotiating my own promotion to senior contracts lead as part of the post-merger restructuring. HR was overwhelmed with integrating 12,000 employees, legal was buried in regulatory filings, and everyone wanted the Pentagon contracts transferred yesterday. Perfect operational environment for some creative contract language. I need enhanced protections, I told Martha Reeves, the chief legal officer. She was 60 days from retirement and signing documents like she was processing discharge papers at the end of a deployment. Standard indemnification isn't enough? She asked, barely glancing up from her Mont Blanc pen. I'll be reviewing executive contracts worth hundreds of millions in Pentagon funding. My security clearance gives me access to classified procurement data. If I flag something serious and face retaliation, standard protections won't cover my mortgage or my family's security. She waved her hand like she was dismissing a subordinate. Draft something reasonable and I'll review it. Reasonable. In intelligence work, that word means whatever serves the mission. So I crafted the integrity, performance, and change trigger clause with the precision of a targeting package. If I submitted a code-red integrity warning about financial irregularities affecting over $25 million in company funds, and the company responded with any adverse employment action within 30 days before resolving the issue, I'd receive early distribution of the remaining compliance incentive pool as a lump sum payment. But here's where I applied real tradecraft. I didn't just bury it in my employment contract where some future lawyer might find it during discovery. I structured it as a side letter to the long-term incentive plan, requiring only CEO and compensation committee approval, not full board review. Then I set up an irrevocable escrow arrangement with Westlake Bank, our M&A custody provider, with specific trigger conditions that would automatically release funds once verified. The escrow instructions were bulletproof. Upon receipt of a verified integrity warning followed by adverse employment action within 30 days, release the remaining pool balance to Alexander Westfield. No take-back provision, no cure period, no additional approvals required. Harold Morrison, the outgoing CEO, signed it without even reading the attachments. Why would he care? He was headed for a $50 million golden parachute and a board seat at Lockheed. The compensation committee rubber-stamped it along with 40 other merger-related modifications during a 90-minute meeting. Martha blessed it with legal's approval stamp, probably thinking it was just another retention bonus. Then I did the smartest thing of my military and civilian career. I waited. I filed the executed documents with Westlake, sent certified copies to my attorney at Bluff and Rowan, and locked the originals in a safety deposit box at a different bank. For 6 years, I was the model employee. Spotless reviews, commendations for cost savings on Pentagon contracts, even won the President's Award for Contract Optimization in 2021. all while carrying a $120 million insurance policy against corporate retaliation, funded by the very executives who would eventually try to destroy me. Because here's what I learned hunting financial criminals in Iraq: someone always gets greedy, and when they try to silence the guy who knows where the bodies are buried, you better have your extraction plan locked and loaded. 2 years ago, in March 2022, I stumbled onto the thread that would unravel Patricia Stone's whole operation. Started simple enough: routine quarterly review of high-value vendor contracts. Phantom Ridge Services caught my attention. 1.1 million monthly for specialized thermal management systems at our Clearwater facility. Now, I've reviewed thousands of defense contractor invoices over the years. When you've spent a decade analyzing financial irregularities in Iraq contractor payments, you develop a nose for things that don't smell right. This one stank like a burn pit. I pulled the vendor file from our secure database. Phantom Ridge was incorporated in Delaware in January 2020, conveniently right after Patricia joined as CFO in 2019. No website, no industry certifications, no employee directory. The registered address was a UPS store in Wilmington. Red flag number 1. Based on every fraud pattern I'd seen overseas, I cross-referenced the payment authorizations going back to when they started in 2020. Every single invoice bore Patricia Stone's digital signature, not rotated through her deputies like normal procurement protocols, not delegated during her vacations or business trips. Always Patricia, usually approved within 6 hours of submission, regardless of day or time. Red flag number 2. In military contracting, that kind of personal control over payments screams kickback scheme. Then, I hit the Delaware Secretary of State database, a skill I'd learned tracking shell companies used to launder contractor funds in Afghanistan. Phantom Ridge's registered agent? Stone Family Holdings LLC, the same entity Patricia disclosed on her annual executive conflict of interest forms as her personal investment vehicle. Our CFO was paying $13.2 million annually to her own shell company. I pulled 4 years of payment records from January 2020 to March 2024. Total damage, $52.8 million. But here's how she stayed under the radar. Classic misdirection I'd seen used by corrupt contractors overseas. The invoices were split across multiple cost centers throughout Apex's budget structure. Facilities got billed for emergency cooling system repairs. IT infrastructure got charged for server room climate optimization. Building maintenance got hit with HVAC emergency upgrades. R&D got invoiced for laboratory environmental controls. No single budget owner saw the full picture. Each department thought they were paying for legitimate services within their own operational needs. I spent 3 weeks doing what the Army had trained me to do, following the money trail with forensic precision. Purchase orders with sequential numbers that didn't match our internal ERP system. Invoices with identical formatting templates and the same grammatical errors month after month. Email threads where Patricia explicitly instructed accounting to expedite payment for critical infrastructure and bypass standard vendor verification due to urgent operational needs. But here's the smoking gun that proved the whole thing was fiction. I pulled the building permits and work orders for our Clearwater facility from the county records. No major HVAC installations, no new cooling systems, no thermal management upgrades, no emergency repairs requiring $1.1 million monthly. The invoices were complete fabrication. Time for the formal integrity escalation that would either save the company millions or trigger my exit strategy. I prepared a 47-page report with financial flowcharts showing money moving from Apex Defense to Phantom Ridge Services to Stone Family Holdings. Military-style analysis with copies of the fake invoices, Delaware corporate filings, county permit records, and photographs of the UPS store that served as Phantom Ridge's corporate headquarters. September 15, 2024, 9:30 a.m., I submitted my code red integrity warning to the Internal Fiduciary Council. Full Pentagon-style briefing format with executive summary, detailed findings, financial impact assessment, and recommended actions. Copied the audit committee chair, sent notifications to legal and HR, and forwarded everything to my personal attorney for litigation hold. The warning documented $52.8 million in fraudulent payments over 4 years and 8 months. Miranda's response was swift and surgical, like a special operations strike designed to neutralize a threat. By noon, my access to the procurement database was temporarily suspended for routine system maintenance. By 3 p.m., I was excluded from the weekly executive briefing due to scheduling conflicts with new strategic priorities. By close of business, Half my team was reassigned to support critical Pentagon proposal initiatives under different managers. Tuesday brought more precision targeting. My corporate parking spot was reallocated due to facilities optimization requirements. My company credit card got flagged for unusual activity patterns requiring security review despite zero charges in the past month. IT reported technical difficulties with my email system, but only for messages going to the audit committee, SEC compliance, or external legal counsel. Wednesday morning, Miranda summoned me to her corner office. Floor-to-ceiling windows, power positioning, the kind of intimidation setup designed to break down subordinates. I'd seen the same psychology used in interrogation facilities overseas. "You're walking into dangerous territory, Alex," she said, not bothering with corporate pleasantries. "I'm following established compliance protocols for financial irregularities exceeding materiality thresholds. You're exceeding your operational authority. Vendor management and CFO oversight aren't in your lane. $52.8 million in fraudulent payments to a shell company is exactly my lane. It's literally why the Pentagon requires this position in defense contractors." Her smile had all the warmth of a targeting laser. You know what happens to employees who don't understand the operational chain of command? They fulfill their fiduciary duty to shareholders and taxpayers. They find themselves reassigned to positions more suited to their collaborative capabilities. Or they find themselves looking for new opportunities in the private sector. I kept detailed operational records of every retaliatory action, just like documenting enemy contact in a combat zone. Screenshots of revoked system access with timestamps. Email metadata showing excluded meetings and blocked communications. Voice recordings of veiled threats using the recording app on my personal phone. My attorney at Bluff and Rowan got encrypted copies of everything in real time. The escrow trigger conditions were falling into place like a perfectly coordinated military operation with multiple phase lines being crossed on schedule. Thursday, HR scheduled my first performance optimization session. Andrew Lawson's office smelled like corporate sanitizer and barely contained panic. The guy was sweating like someone about to step on an IED. "Several senior colleagues have expressed concerns about your collaborative dynamics and cultural integration," he said, sliding a performance improvement plan across his desk like he was serving a death warrant. "Which colleagues specifically?" "That's confidential information. But there's a consistent pattern of behavior suggesting you might benefit from our employee realignment and optimization program." Employee Realignment and Optimization Program, corporate speak for we're building your termination file with documentation that will stand up in court. The PIP was a masterpiece of vague, unmeasurable objectives. Demonstrate enhanced cross-functional team dynamics, improve cultural alignment with organizational priorities, show increased flexibility in role boundary definitions, impossible to quantify, easy to fail, designed to justify termination for cause. "This seems premature," I said, keeping my voice level. My last annual performance review was rated exceeds expectations across all evaluation categories. That assessment was completed before recent behavioral observations came to light. "Sign here to acknowledge receipt and understanding." I signed. Then I photographed every page with my personal phone while he pretended to review his calendar. Evidence preservation, another skill the Army had taught me well. The next 2 weeks were textbook psychological operations designed to break down my resistance and force resignation. Meeting invitations sent 20 minutes before start time for conference rooms on the opposite side of the campus. Critical emails arriving at 5:15 p.m. on Friday afternoons requiring detailed responses by Monday morning. Projects reassigned without notification, then getting questioned about missed deadlines for work I no longer owned or had access to. But Andrew made one crucial tactical error. He documented every manufactured incident in his little manila folder of fabricated evidence. Late arrival to a meeting scheduled during my pre-approved lunch period. Failure to respond to emails sent to my disabled corporate account. Missing a mandatory training session that existed only in his imagination. He was systematically building my termination case with the thoroughness of a logistics officer. What he didn't realize was that he was simultaneously building my legal case with the same level of detail. I played the role of confused but earnest employee perfectly, sending polite requests for clarification that never came, asking for guidance that was never provided, requesting access to systems that remained mysteriously unavailable. Every exchange got copied to my personal email account creating an evidence trail that would make a JAG prosecutor's career. Meanwhile, Miranda tightened the operational screws with increasing pressure. My signature authority dropped from $5 million to $50,000. Temporary realignment of fiscal responsibilities pending organizational restructuring. My remaining team members got explicit instructions to route all decisions through her office. Enhanced oversight protocols during the current transition period. The final operational insult came with the updated organization chart posted in October 2024. My position still existed on paper, but now reported to Tommy Ferguson, 28 years old, 18 months out of business school, hired as a junior associate manager with zero defense, contracting experience. Report to someone young enough to be my son, and green enough to think Pentagon contracts were just bigger versions of civilian purchase orders, or resign in humiliation. That's when I filed the formal notice of integrity escalation with Westlake Bank, triggering the final phase of an operation 6 years in the planning. The formal notice went out via certified mail to the board secretary, Westlake Bank, and my attorney on October 10, 2024. Not the informal warning I'd filed in September. This was the legal trigger outlined in my contract clause, the tripwire that would detonate my financial insurance policy. The clock officially started ticking on a 30-day countdown. Patricia must have sensed something because within 48 hours, Phantom Ridge Services submitted their final invoice and announced they were ceasing operations due to strategic business restructuring. Real convenient timing. $52.8 million extracted over 4 years and 8 months, and now the shell company was dissolving into the Delaware corporate graveyard where financial crimes go to hide. Meanwhile, I'd already contacted FBI Special Agent Karen Moss, who'd been working defense contractor fraud cases for 8 years. Turns out the Bureau had been tracking a pattern of procurement irregularities across multiple defense contractors, but couldn't get inside access to the financial systems. My evidence package wasn't just about Apex. It was the missing piece of a much larger investigation. You need to drop this investigation, Miranda told me during an ambush meeting in the executive conference room on October 12th. No agenda, no witnesses, just her, me, and barely concealed threats. The Phantom Ridge matter is resolved. Vendors gone. No harm, no foul. $52.8 million in fraudulent payments isn't no harm, I said. That's taxpayer money meant for national defense. Alleged payments to an approved vendor following established procurement procedures. Your friend Patricia's procedures designed to bypass Pentagon oversight. Her expression could have frozen liquid nitrogen. Patricia is conducting an internal review with outside auditors. Your escalation is premature and disruptive. Withdraw the complaint and we can discuss your future here. My future? I thought I had one. Senior contracts lead with top secret clearance, remember? She leaned back, studying me like a sniper selecting target priority. Roles evolve, Alex. Companies need team players who understand operational priorities, not crusaders who think they're saving the world. But we're reasonable people. Andrew's preparing a generous transition package. 12-month severance, full benefits, glowing recommendations. All you have to do is withdraw your complaint and sign a standard separation agreement. Standard, meaning an NDA with teeth that would bury everything forever and guarantee Patricia's scheme stayed hidden. I'll need to review any proposal with my attorney, I said. Of course. You'll have it Monday. Morning. Take the weekend to consider what's best for everyone involved. What she didn't know was that I'd already considered every angle and war-gamed every possible response. And in 72 hours, her Monday morning would arrive with a $120 million bill attached. Monday's generous offer landed on my desk with all the warmth of an execution order. 12 months base salary, no bonus, no vested pension options. The NDA ran 18 pages of aggressive silence clauses designed to prevent any disclosure about Phantom Ridge, Patricia Stone, or proprietary business processes. Sign by Friday at 5 p.m. or face immediate termination for cause. I smiled, nodded, played the defeated soldier considering surrender. I understand this is a difficult transition, Andrew said, patting my shoulder, like he was consoling a casualty. But sometimes a strategic withdrawal benefits everyone's long-term objectives. I let my shoulders slump in apparent resignation. Can I have a few days to review with counsel and discuss with my family? Absolutely, but Alex, his voice sharpened like a blade being drawn. This offer expires Friday at 5 p.m. After that, we proceed with performance-based termination proceedings. Tuesday morning brought unexpected intelligence assets, the kind of allies who emerge when corrupt leadership pushes good people too far. Janet Morse from payroll cornered me in the parking garage at 7:45 a.m. using classic dead-drop tradecraft. "Don't react," she whispered, handing me a coffee with a flash drive taped under the lid. "Check the encrypted files." Janet had discovered something that made Phantom Ridge look like petty theft. Executive retention bonuses totaling $89 million over 3 years, flowing to 7 senior executives through unnamed consulting agreements. All payments routing through the same Delaware banking network as Phantom Ridge Services. Patricia wasn't just stealing, she was running a systematic kickback operation that turned Apex into her personal ATM. The total fraud now stood at $142 million, $52.8 million through Phantom Ridge, plus $89 million in executive kickbacks. Thursday at 1:30 a.m., I met Billy Martinez behind the loading dock for what the intelligence community calls a brush pass. Night security supervisor, 6 months from retirement, fed up with executives treating him like invisible infrastructure. "Saw something interesting Tuesday night," he said, lighting a cigarette with hands that had clearly seen military service. 0300 hours, Stone herself loading banker boxes into an unmarked van. Lot of boxes for a CFO to handle personally. How many boxes? 29. I counted because I had to temporarily disable the dock camera for routine maintenance. He was sweating like someone who'd just witnessed evidence destruction. She was wearing latex gloves and kept checking her watch every 30 seconds. I slipped him $500 cash. "You never saw me." "Saw who?" He flicked his cigarette into the darkness, like disposing of spent brass. By Thursday afternoon, I had assembled a complete intelligence picture. The kickback scheme, the evidence destruction, even found the ghost invoices Patricia had created to backfill the Phantom Ridge payments after my investigation started. Amateur hour. She'd used the same PDF template with identical metadata timestamps, a mistake that would make digital forensics experts smile. But I maintained my broken bird performance like a deep cover operative, attended coaching sessions with Andrew, nodded through Miranda's lectures about organizational alignment and strategic priorities, even asked Tommy Ferguson, my supposed 28-year-old supervisor, for guidance on transition planning and knowledge transfer protocols. Then I executed the critical tactical move. Formal notice to Westlake Bank, anticipating imminent adverse employment action within 72 hours following unresolved code red integrity escalation. Please prepare for immediate escrow fund release per original agreement terms and trigger conditions. Their response came within 4 hours, precise as a military operation, acknowledged and verified. Upon receipt of qualifying trigger event, the remaining $120 million compliance incentive pool will be released within 1 business day per irrevocable escrow instructions. No additional approvals required. Stand by for final confirmation. Friday morning, I dressed for the final operation like preparing for a mission briefing. My best suit, the charcoal gray one I'd bought after closing the $340 million Raytheon contract. Hair trimmed, posture military straight, ready for what the Army calls contact with the enemy. I sent one final email to Miranda, copying HR and legal, ready to discuss transition options and finalize documentation, available at 10 a.m. for conclusive meeting. Her response was immediate and confident. Conference room 12. We'll have all final paperwork prepared for signature. She thought she was conducting the final phase of my termination. She had no idea she was walking into an ambush that had been 6 years in the planning and preparation. At 9:58 a.m., I transmitted the complete evidence package to FBI Special Agent Karen Moss. 847 pages of documentation including fraudulent invoices, shell company filings, the complete Delaware corporate network linking Patricia's holdings to Apex vendors, Janet's executive kickback evidence, and Billy's witness statement about the evidence destruction. A comprehensive intelligence briefing that mapped $142 million in coordinated theft. At 9:59 a.m., I stood outside conference room 12, watching through the glass like conducting pre-assault reconnaissance. Miranda's confident smile suggested victory was assured. Andrew's nervous energy indicated he knew something was wrong but couldn't identify the threat. Patricia's entitled posture showed a criminal who believed she was untouchable. Peterson frantically reviewed legal documents like searching for an escape route that didn't exist. At 10 a.m. sharp, I walked into my $120 million endgame, carrying 6 years of preparation and the full weight of military precision. The final battle was about to begin, and they had no idea they'd already lost. Back in that conference room, watching their faces cycle through disbelief, rage, and finally terror, I felt the satisfaction of a mission accomplished with military precision. 6 years of patience, planning, and flawless execution coming together like a perfectly coordinated strike operation. "This is Westlake Trust Services," the voice crackled through the speakerphone with bureaucratic authority. "I've confirmed all trigger conditions under Section 7.3 of the escrow agreement. Bad faith demotion following an integrity escalation constitutes constructive termination per the original contract terms. The $120 million disbursement will process within 1 business day. This is Patricia Stone, CFO." Patricia barked at the phone like she was ordering subordinates. "Cancel that transfer immediately. No funds move without my direct authorization." "I'm sorry, ma'am, but these are irrevocable escrow instructions executed 6 years ago during the Apex Titan merger. The funds are held in segregated compliance accounts outside Apex's operational control. Once trigger conditions are verified and met, the company has no authority to stop the transfer." I pulled out my second folder, the one containing Janet's intelligence and Billy's witness statement. While we're all here, I should mention that copies of the complete evidence package went to FBI Special Agent Karen Moss this morning. $142 million in coordinated fraud, $52.8 million through Phantom Ridge Services, plus $89 million in executive kickback schemes routed through shell companies. Patricia's face transformed from executive confidence to criminal panic, shifting from red to corpse gray in real time. Additionally, I continued with the calm precision of a briefing officer. "My attorneys at Bluff and Rowan have maintained complete document backups under federal litigation hold." And Patricia, loading 29 boxes of evidence into an unmarked van at 0300 hours Tuesday, was sloppy operational security. "Billy Martinez sends his regards." Miranda stood so fast her chair toppled backward, like she'd triggered an ejection seat. "You can't do this. This is corporate terrorism." "I didn't do anything," I said, maintaining my seated position like holding the high ground. "You did. Every retaliatory action, every vindictive move, every systematic attempt to silence a federal whistleblower. You built this case against yourselves with the thoroughness of a logistics operation. I just documented it with the skills the Army taught me." My phone buzzed with an encrypted message from Westlake. "Disbursement initiated and confirmed. Transfer completion scheduled Monday, 10 o'clock a.m. Eastern Standard Time." I stood, straightening my jacket with the same precision I'd once used, adjusting my uniform. "Ladies and gentlemen, you have 2 business days to explain to your board of directors why their former senior compliance lead now owns $120 million of shareholder money. I suspect they'll have some pointed questions about management oversight." As I reached the conference room door, Patricia's voice cracked like someone calling for a medic. "Wait, we can negotiate this. Work out some kind of arrangement." I turned back one final time, meeting her eyes with the same intensity I'd once used addressing hostile witnesses in Iraq. The time for negotiation was when I reported $52.8 million in fraud through proper channels. You chose retaliation instead. Enjoy explaining that tactical decision to the FBI. Monday morning arrived with the kind of poetic justice that made my 10 years analyzing contractor fraud in combat zones feel like preparation for this moment. At 10:02 a.m. sharp, my laptop chimed with the sound of total victory. Westlake Bank, wire transfer completed. $120,000 credited to account ending in 4471. Reference: Compliance Incentive Pool, Integrity Performance Clause Settlement. $120 million, 9 digits that transformed 6 years of strategic planning into permanent financial independence and vindication of every principle the military had taught me about duty, honor, and protecting taxpayer resources. I poured coffee, premium Colombian instead of the institutional swill I'd been drinking at Apex, and called my attorney, Jason at Bluff and Rowan. "Confirmation received," I said with the brevity of a successful mission report. "Congratulations, Alex. Though, frankly, we're the ones who should be grateful. FBI served additional warrants this morning based on your evidence package. Your documentation led them to 6 more executives involved in the kickback network across 3 different defense contractors. Just doing the job I was trained for, the job they tried to punish me for doing. Speaking of consequences, Patricia Stone's federal arraignment is Thursday. Wire fraud, tax evasion, conspiracy to defraud the United States government. She's looking at 25 years minimum. Miranda and Andrew were terminated for cause this morning. Apparently, Andrew actually vomited when legal showed him your complete evidence file. I smiled, imagining Andrew's reaction when he realized every vindictive email, every retaliatory action, every manufactured performance issue had been documented with military precision and time-stamped with forensic accuracy. What about Apex itself? The company paid $285 million in fines and disgorgement to the SEC and Defense Department, exactly twice the fraud amount as required by federal sentencing guidelines. Stock dropped 38% since the news broke. Board terminated half the executive team and hired a former Pentagon Inspector General as interim CEO. They're calling it complete cultural transformation and return to ethical defense contracting principles. The corporate counterattack had been swift but ultimately futile. Within hours of my victory, Apex's emergency legal team filed motions in Delaware Chancery Court trying to freeze the wire transfer and void the escrow agreement. Too late. Irrevocable instructions don't recognize buyer's remorse. Their high-priced attorneys at Morrison & Associates claimed the integrity clause was unconscionable, violated public policy, and constituted unjust enrichment. Judge Rebecca Martinez took exactly 15 minutes to deny their emergency injunction request. Her written opinion was more devastating than artillery fire. Plaintiff Corporation seeks to avoid the consequences of a contract they freely negotiated and executed, triggered solely by their own retaliatory conduct against an employee reporting potential federal crimes. This court will not assist in such transparent bad faith, particularly when the conduct involves fraud against United States defense contracts. But the real satisfaction came from watching the federal investigation expand like a successful intelligence operation. My evidence package to Agent Moss wasn't just the end of Patricia's scheme. It was the beginning of a bureau-wide investigation into defense contractor procurement fraud. Within 48 hours, FBI forensic accountants were conducting coordinated raids on 4 defense contractors, executing search warrants with the precision of military operations. The shell company network I'd uncovered was even more extensive than suspected. They found 18 additional fake vendors across the industry, all routing payments through interconnected Delaware corporate structures. Total fraud across all companies, $847 million over 8 years. Patricia Stone had been running point on the most sophisticated defense contractor theft operation in Pentagon contracting history. 6 months later, I'm sitting in my new home office. 5,000 square feet of waterfront property overlooking Puget Sound, with a view that reminds me why this country is worth protecting. Running Westfield Security Consulting. We specialize in compliance auditing and fraud detection for defense contractors, with particular focus on contract integrity and federal whistleblower protection. My first client? The Pentagon's Inspector General. Turns out they'd been tracking procurement irregularities across the defense industrial base for 3 years, but couldn't penetrate the financial systems without inside access. My evidence package didn't just expose one company's fraud, it revealed systemic vulnerabilities that were bleeding billions in taxpayer dollars meant for national defense. I've got 18 employees now, all former military with intelligence, investigative, or auditing backgrounds. We've recovered $4.7 billion in fraudulent payments across 23 companies in just 6 months. The FBI has us on speed dial, Congress has requested our testimony on defense contractor oversight, and the Pentagon is implementing new procurement protocols based on our recommendations. The irony isn't lost on me. The same analytical skills that made me a threat to corrupt executives now make me invaluable to legitimate companies trying to maintain ethical operations. I'm earning more in monthly consulting fees than I made annually at Apex, with complete operational autonomy and the deep satisfaction of knowing I'm protecting the taxpayers who fund our military. Patricia Stone received 22 years in federal prison. Judge William Torres called it a breathtaking betrayal of the American taxpayers who fund our national defense and ordered her to pay $568 million in restitution. She'll be 74 when she's released, if she survives the federal system. Miranda found employment as a mid-level operations supervisor at a small logistics company in Cleveland. Significant demotion from the CFO track she'd been pursuing at Apex. Andrew's selling insurance in Phoenix, making roughly what a junior analyst earns. Both are effectively blacklisted from any serious corporate positions in defense contracting. Tommy Ferguson, the 28-year-old they wanted me to report to, he lasted exactly 7 weeks after the scandal broke. Turns out having supervised a federal whistleblower who exposed $250 million in fraud doesn't enhance your resume in the defense industry. As for me, I'm doing exactly what I've always done, ensuring contracts mean what they say and people honor their commitments to national security. The difference is now I work for myself, set my own operational parameters, and get compensated what I'm actually worth. My standard consulting rate is $3,500 per hour, and I'm booked solid through next year. The contract clause that saved my career and vindicated my integrity? I've written 127 similar provisions for other employees since then. Each one customized to specific companies and industries, but all containing the same core principle. Make retaliation so financially devastating that it's never worth the risk. Because here's what I learned in Army intelligence and confirmed in corporate America. The best defense against criminal actors isn't hoping they'll develop ethics or relying on their better angels. It's ensuring they pay the full price when they don't, with interest and penalties that make the consequences unforgettable. I receive calls every week from employees who've discovered fraud, waste, abuse, or safety violations in their companies. Sometimes it's simple theft like Patricia's operation. Sometimes it's safety defects that could kill soldiers in combat. Sometimes it's environmental contamination that companies are covering up. My advice is always the same. Document everything with military precision, protect yourself legally before taking action, and never trust that doing the right thing will be rewarded unless you've contractually guaranteed it will be. The phone's ringing again. Another whistleblower, another corrupt executive, another opportunity to prove that integrity isn't just a nice concept posted on corporate walls. It's a business model that can be both profitable and principled when backed by proper planning and preparation. Sometimes the best revenge isn't living well. It's living well with $120 million of your enemy's money, earned by being exactly who they tried to destroy you for being. Mission accomplished. Target acquired. Moving to the next objective.